Hello and welcome to Ward 13. Before I turn today's show over to guest host Bonnie Wright, I'd like to make an announcement. On Saturday, July 11th at 9 a.m., there's going to be a March for Peace starting at Victory Park. The March for Peace honors the nearly 8,000 victims of the Srebrenica massacre of 1995. It was the worst massacre, the worst event of its kind since World War II. And nearly 8,000 men and boys were massacred. That begins at 9 a.m. at Victory Park. They have an 11 a.m. finish at Dairyfield Park. And then at 11:15 a.m. there's going to be a keynote speaker. And at 1 p.m. a prayer. I encourage you to participate. Thank you.
Welcome to Ward 13 with John Hopwood. Obviously, I'm not John. My name is Bonnie Wright. I'm the founder of New Hampshire Right to Know, GMO. If you watch John's show, you've seen me recently. I was here talking about genetically engineered foods and March Against Monsanto. And then John had me come back and I talked with Matt about two things that are going to affect our ability to label foods, which is the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the TPP, and the DARK Act. But today I'm in a different role. I'm hosting today, and with me today is my dear friend, and this is Kathy Corkery from Sierra Club New Hampshire chapter. So welcome, Kathy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So can you tell us a little bit about the Sierra Club?
Absolutely. The Sierra Club was started in 1892 in California with a gentleman by the name of John Muir. John Muir was, he was actually Welsh, and he came to America to seek his fortunes. And in doing so, he actually was in a very critical industrial accident, and he almost lost his sight. And when his health was restored, he had a different idea of how he's going to pursue his fortune in the United States, and that was to protect the wild and beautiful landscapes. And in particular, there was a place called Yosemite in California that he fell in love with, and he wanted to create a national park and a whole national park system for America. And he was able to do that. And technically, Yosemite became a state park first and then a national park later. And since then, the Sierra Club, has grown up in California at first, and then started spreading across the country. And in New England, we have first we had a New England chapter, and then in 1992, we separated out by state. And the Sierra Club mission is to explore, enjoy, and protect the earth. And it actually includes a lot of things, from protecting and creating national parks to protecting our food supply and creating solutions, pursuing solutions to climate change is another big issue that we deal with. And right here in New Hampshire, we have a lot of opportunities to explore, enjoy, and protect the earth. And we have over 10,000 members and supporters in the state.
10,000 in New Hampshire?
In New Hampshire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And nationwide, it's just over 2 million members and supporters.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you're working on some of the issues here in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now?
Sure. New Hampshire Sierra Club is one of the few environmental groups that actually have they have the ability to work on state issues in the State House, as well as raising public awareness and working on elections. So we endorse candidates. We're one of the few organizations that do that. And one of the big issues that we've been working on recently has been the proposed pipeline in southern New Hampshire. That's called the Northeast Energy Direct.
Could we have the slide of the pipeline, please?
Yeah, sure.
And that pipeline is an extension of, but it's a new pipeline from Pennsylvania to Dracut, Massachusetts. Normally,
Cutting right through New Hampshire.
right. Normally, you wouldn't go to New Hampshire if you're going that route. But and if you think about this, and those of you in southern New Hampshire, if your town borders Massachusetts and it's not called Hollis, Nashua, or Pelham, your town is affected by this proposal. And this pipeline, it is a big pipeline. It is 3 feet in diameter, and it would, the volume of natural gas it proposes is massive. And most of this product, most of this natural gas will be exported. And it will not really, its purpose is not to affect our home heating. A very small portion, a fraction of a fraction, if you will, of the natural gas would be used to help or heat people's homes in New Hampshire.
Although that's what the oil companies are trying to convince us, that we need this pipeline to help reduce our electric costs.
Right, and it's actually, there's very little information that would back that up. And I think that's really the thing that we need, is more information and people to get involved and ask those questions. How will this impact my energy bill? And luckily, they have a number of information sessions that are coming up at the end of the month. On July 29th, I think it's on the screen, July 29th, they'll be in Nashua at 6:30 at the Nashua Radisson. And on July 30th, they'll be at the Milford Town Hall at 6:30. And those are 2 opportunities for everyone. That's open to the public, everyone to go and ask questions about this proposal. And it's really important. This is the proposal is, as I said, it's 3 feet in diameter.
So we could walk through it kind of hunched over.
Yeah. It's 2/3 of my body. I'm not a tall person, but it's massive, and it is it's proposed to be along a existing right of way of transportation or I'm sorry, electricity, telephone or transmission lines. Pardon me. And so this right of way will effectively double in size. So if your house has a right of way going through it, think about it being doubled. And how that's going to affect your property.
In my town, I live in Salem, we had a meeting at the town hall about it, and they were talking about the pipeline already goes under people's driveway, so they're going to be tearing up people's yards and people's driveways to do this. But
yeah, and the majority of the pipeline will be new. I think Salem's different because they already have an existing pipeline that they would be hooking onto to then go to Drake it. So honestly, in effect, every town is different. So I urge people to go and find out what there is to know at these informational sessions.
Now you have a website?
There is a website of these fine people, the New Hampshire Pipeline Awareness.org, all one word.
Is it NH or New Hampshire?
You're right, NH pipelineawareness.org. Those folks have done a phenomenal job of collecting as much information as possible. Kudos to them because they've done an amazing work and amazing outreach.
When we're talking about this, it makes me think about something that we were talking about recently, not you and I, but people in general, about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. There is concern that Japan is now a member of it. Japan is a leading user of liquid natural gas.
Right.
So the Trans-Pacific Partnership could make Japan force us into providing even more than what we are now.
That's right.
Can we talk a little bit about the TPP and put up the first TPP slide, please? The group I represent, New Hampshire Right to Know, has been very concerned about the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the Fast Track that we just recently passed. Fast Track, our TPA, Trade Protection Authority, is instructions to the U.S. trade rep on what they're supposed to be negotiating. One of my big concerns about that is that that document actually tells the trade rep to consider the labeling of biotech products, which would be genetically engineered foods or GMOs, as a trade barrier. So that had the GMO labeling movement a little bit concerned. We know that we're not the only ones working on that. We know that Sierra Club has been a strong advocate against the Fast Track and also against the TPP and the other trade deals coming up down the line. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. Part of the Trans-Pacific Partnership that is concerned to our group and to a number of groups, and should be the concern of citizens in the United States as well as the 11 other countries that are involved, is that this has been developed behind closed doors. That any information that has been out there has been leaked out there. That this agreement, this international, very large, far-reaching agreement, is being done behind closed doors. And that alone raises very big red flags for Sierra Club. But what we do know is that it's based on another big trade agreement that we've experienced, NAFTA. And that the impacts, we know that NAFTA is the model for the TPP. And we have serious problems with NAFTA as well, and it's a flawed model. And what we suspect will be the issues around the TPP include this forcing of American communities, our towns and our states, being forced to allow companies to do hydraulic fracking because of this larger agreement. So,
Okay, I know what fracking is.
Oh,
It's possible that not all of our listeners today are
you're right.
familiar with it.
You're right. Fracking, hydraulic fracking, is a drilling technique where they pump up, they drill into the ground. Places, a lot of the times they drill in old oil and natural gas drilling sites, and they push water through it, and the water will disrupt the smaller pockets of natural gas and oil that were before then very difficult to get at and very difficult to make a profit out of. But by pushing this water and this chemical that we don't know what's in the chemical, but this chemical solution gets pushed in there as well, and it brings up the natural gas, and then it's quite the technique. But it is, there are reports earlier this week or last week about the dangers to drinking water supplies.
The waters are getting contaminated.
From the drilling with the hydro fracking technique. And what happens is then often they'll put the wastewater in the old well and seal it up, and that's where the water contamination risks
Finding
are.
people in the fracking areas are getting sick. They're finding the areas where they're doing the fracking are having more earthquakes. So
Oklahoma, a state without a history of earthquakes, has had record numbers of earthquakes in the last year. And there was a report. The USGS just released a report last week examining the dangers and identifying the dangers of hydraulic fracking, and the TPP, which is an agreement that allows businesses to do this kind of work, would circumvent. The TPP creates loopholes for these companies to do this hydraulic fracking in communities that have not really supported it. That they are expanding the demand for the natural gas and making it difficult to stop it.
Could we put up the second TPP slide, please? That one, good. So I know that one of the concerns is Japan, who is one of these countries that is involved in it. They have the biggest demand of liquid natural gas anywhere. So there is very concerned that through a clause called the ISDS, which means Investor State Dispute Settlement, they can sue us because of loss of potential profit. They need it, they want it, they can come and they can demand that we continue fracking in places such as New York, which has banned fracking. So it's a little bit, the whole TPP situation is scary. The ISDS clause in that allows three people, the country being sued, the corporation suing, and then there would be a neutral representative. Those three people will make a decision in a court that cannot be disputed, and
no appeals.
Appeals.
And it's not just drilling; it's also cleanup. There are examples of different areas in Peru, for example, where there is a huge mining operation for gold and other heavy metals, that the company that owned and operated this mine left it. And the contamination of lead is a huge problem for the public health of the folks not only who work there, but who live around there. And the community cannot hold that company accountable. Instead, what happened was that the company held the country accountable for making them stop and losing profits.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't sound like that doesn't sound fair to me.
Yeah, the United States has had other agreements that have included clauses, including the ISDS clause or similar. One of the things we were told when we were passing the TPP is we've never been successfully sued. Well, that just happened. And
where was that?
That was on the Canada and Mexico sued the United States for the country of origin labeling of foods.
There you go.
So it has happened. We're being told it's not going to impact our laws. Well, as soon as this ruling came down from the World Trade Organization, then we were told that there is going to be a penalty for this. Before we even know what kind of damages there are, the U.S. House has submitted a bill and passed a bill to repeal the country of origin labeling. So some of the promises that we were made as they were talking about the fast track has already been broken. We have been sued. We have been successfully sued, and one of our chambers is trying to repeal one of our bills.
Mm-hmm,
so
one of the safeguards that protect our food supply.
Yep.
That's frustrating.
So
the other thing that is concern to the Sierra Club is the areas that we're talking about. This is far-reaching, and we're talking about the Amazon. We're talking about the Great Barrier Reef. We're talking about thousands, I think it's 11,000 endangered species in this area. We're talking about whales and sharks that are endangered. These animals, while we may have laws that don't allow for shark finning, where they cut the fin off of a shark and throw it back in, this is an endangered species. Other countries do not have those same safeguards. So how do we eliminate and mitigate those differences? The TPP does not do that, and that failure alone is a huge concern.
Okay. So what we need to do on the TPP is we need to contact Congress and tell Congress that we're very concerned about food safety. We're very concerned about the environment. They work hand in hand.
Yeah,
if the environment is screwed up, our food is going to be screwed up. So,
this is justice, actually. We're concerned about justice.
Yeah.
These are agreements done behind closed doors. Okay. And certainly calling up our senators and Congress people is a really great way. There will be legislation. There will be items for them to vote on.
And you have something coming up, an event coming up that is a rally, if we can have the rally slide.
Yeah.
You have an event coming up. Can you tell us about this?
Sure. One of the items that the Sierra Club and our partners have been working on for years has been climate change and trying to come up with solutions to curb climate change. And one of those is through the Clean Air Act. The Clean Air Act allows the Environmental Protection Agency to put standards for different pollutants. And carbon is one of those pollutants that comes from power plants. And they will be announcing a final standard for carbon coming from power plants. And we are celebrating with a rally on July 30th in Portsmouth, downtown in Market Square, from 5:30 to 7.
Awesome.
And we are going to have speakers, we hope to have music, and we will have free ice cream.
Free ice cream. All right. If no other reason, you got to go get the free ice cream, right? But it should be a good event from what I'm hearing.
It'll be great. I'm really excited about it. We are lining up some speakers right now, and we've got a lot of great speakers, potential, and lots of information for people to learn more about climate change and what we can do.
Sounds awesome. So let's wrap up a little bit.
Okay.
We have the pipeline coming up. We have meetings on July 29th at the Nashua Radisson or July 30th at the Milford Town Hall.
Yeah.
Both of those are at 6:30.
6:30.
Yeah. And we have the Rally for Clean Energy in Portsmouth on July 30th from 5:30 to 7.
Yep.
Free ice cream.
Free ice cream.
And we have the TPP that we're concerned about.
Right.
And those of us who are working on labeling of genetically engineered foods, in addition to the TPP, we're also concerned about the DARK Act, HR 1599, which they're trying to make it so states can't label. It would be illegal for us to label, and for the federal government difficult for them to label. So we're asking people to call Congress and tell them we don't want the fast track. I'm sorry, we already have fast track. We don't want it anyways, but we don't want the TPP.
Right.
We don't want the DARK Act. We want to thank Representative Custer for having voted against fast track.
That's right.
We want to encourage her to stay with that vote.
Right. I think those are...
Is that everything?
Yeah, those are great calls to our lawmakers in Congress to make supporting opposition to the TPP. That'd be great.
So if you want to reach Kathy, you can reach her through the New Hampshire Sierra Club, which their website is http://www.sierraclub.org and then /NEW-Hampshire. They got a Facebook page, NH Sierra Club Chapter. Twitter is New Hampshire Sierra Club.
There it is.
Kathy's email is Catherine.Corkery, Corkery, at sierraclub.org. And if you want to know more about GMOs, you can reach New Hampshire Right to Know GMO.org. And we're also by that name on Facebook. And you can send an email to info@nhrighttoknowgmo.org.
Excellent.
So do you have anything last thoughts that you want to add here?
The only last thought is of gratitude. Thank you so much for having me here.
It was great to have you, Kathy. I'm glad you were here. It was really good to hear what you're talking about, and
Thanks.
hope people learned a little bit today. Thank you so much.
Thanks.